They say that flying is the safest form of travel, and that they mean that because of technology and decades of experience, building the craft is very unlikely that you'll crash or have issues. It obviously does happen, but not as much as one would expect. But one thing that does get overlooked is that while the planes themselves may be okay, that doesn't mean the airports are safe. In fact, there are a lot of airports all over the world that are, well, sketchy at best. So allow us to show you the 9 most dangerous airports in the world. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 9. Juanchoiroskin Airport. Juanchoiroskin Airport, otherwise known as Saba Airport, is one of the world's scariest airports. Located on the Dutch Caribbean island of Saba, it lies about 27 miles south of St. Martin. Its runway is a pitiful 1,300 feet long, making it one of the shortest commercial airports in the world. This tiny runway length means only the very best pilots have what it takes to safely land and take off from it. After all, you need that extra length of runway to ensure you slow down the craft enough to stop or to get enough speed to take off safely. A short runway is never a good idea, but a short runway is not the only hazard that would-be approaching pilots need to be aware of. The airport is surrounded by jagged terrain and a sharp left bank immediately before landing. It might be safer to take the ferry or swim if you want to visit this place. Number 8. Wellington International Airport. Serving the capital of New Zealand, Wellington International Airport is the 3rd busiest airport in the country after Auckland and Christchurch. It features a single 2,081-meter, 6,827-foot runway that appears to start and end in the ocean. The airport has a reputation for sometimes rough and turbulent landings, even in larger aircraft, due to the channeling effect of Cook Strait, creating strong and gusty winds, especially in northwesterly conditions. This makes it extremely difficult for pilots to maneuver landings, and can sometimes turn flying into a hair-raising experience for passengers. Granted, wind conditions are always something you look out for and try to prepare for mentally as you fly planes when you are a pilot, but usually you only have to worry about that when you're high in the air, not when you're coming in for a landing, and we don't envy those passengers who have to endure those turbulent landings. Just saying. Number 7. Congonhas International Airport. Remember what we said about short runways? Here's another perfect example of this. Congonhas International Airport in Sao Paulo, Brazil is one of the world's most dangerous airports. Why? Because it's another airport with a short runway. It is also located in a heavily built up portion of this enormous city, and it feels as if you're scraping the tops of high-rise buildings as you land on the ground, which is not comforting at all. One of 4 airports serving the city has become famed for its risky runways that are often accused of being the slipperiest in the world because its runway had not been constructed with proper grooves to drain away excess rainwater, leading to a buildup of standing water at times. This has resulted in a large number of fatal crashes. In fact, over the years, there have been some very serious accidents at the airport. One notable example occurred in 2007 when TAM Airlines Airbus A320 overran runway 35L during moderate rain. The plane crashed into a nearby warehouse, killing all 187 people on board and 12 civilians on the ground. See, sometimes it's not the plane you have to fear, but where you land it. Number 6. Gibraltar National Airport. The runway at Gibraltar's airport crosses the main road in and out of the British Overseas Territory, and consequently traffic has to be closed every time a plane lands or departs. The resultant traffic jams have led to the construction of a tunnel under the runway, but the project has been plagued by delays and is still not complete. However, the highway crossing isn't the main issue for pilots. It is the strong turbulence and wind shear around the Rock of Gibraltar and across the Bay of Algeciras that makes landings here a challenging affair and particularly uncomfortable. Diversions and go-arounds are common, especially in winter. Yeah, this place sounds lovely to go to. Not only do you have natural and elemental problems, you're causing major traffic jams due to clearly bad planning on the designer's part. Now, we're not saying you can't visit there, but we are saying you should be very careful of how you get there. Number 5. Telluride Regional Airport. Telluride Regional Airport is located in southwest Colorado and is widely considered one of the scariest in the world. Around 5 miles west of the town of Telluride, it is one of the highest airports by elevation in America at 9,070 feet. You honestly don't hear about airports being that high for various reasons. It was built in the 1980s and boasted over 9,400 operations a year, at least before the current COVID-19 crisis. While actually quite safe in reality, the approach to it can seem quite hair-raising to say the least. Located on a small plateau, it features 1,000-foot sheer cliffs at both ends of the runway, and pilots need to overcome strong vertical turbulence from the mountain winds during the winter months. Not only that, but each of the runway is actually slightly higher than the middle, creating a dip, although this was reduced during a 2009 renovation. If you're riding a plane to this airport, you'll definitely need to buckle up. Number 4. Princess Juliana Airport. The notorious Princess Juliana Airport on the Caribbean island of St. Martin is famous around the world for its low landings over the ocean, owing to one end of its single 7,546-foot long runway being extremely close to the shore. The proximity of Maho Beach to the runway has made the airport one of the world's most favorite places for a perfect Instagram shot, as the landing jets appear to be just feet above the heads of the public just before touchdown, while takeoff creates huge gusts of wind and sand for sunbathers. It's not without danger though. In 2017, a New Zealand woman died from injuries sustained by a jet blast from a departing aircraft, proving once again that proximity is something you absolutely need when you are close to an airport. All it takes is one bad takeoff and people get hurt. Number 3. Svalbard Airport. Built on permafrost, Svalbard Airport not only seems scary, but it is also an engineering marvel in its own right. Located in Norway's Arctic archipelago, the 8,000-foot runway is built directly on ice. Culverts under the runways allow water to run from the mountain. There are also no runway lights, so flights are only permitted during daylight. Now, this may not seem like a big issue until you realize that in the winter, the sun does not really rise here. The airport was built on permafrost, with the runway insulated against the ground so it will not melt during the summer. While its safety record is excellent, its location as one of the world's northernmost airports can make flights to it very challenging for pilots. Inclement weather and the proximity to the Earth's magnetic North Pole can create visibility and navigational difficulties for even the best pilots. For these reasons, one of Norway's worst air accidents occurred at this airport in 1996. A Russian flight bound for Longyearbyen crashed into a mountain after being about 2 miles off its approach centerline, killing all 141 passengers on board. So while this airport may be a marvel, it can also be a killer. Number 2. Narsarsuaaq Airport. Didn't know there was an airport in Greenland, did you? One of 2 airports in Greenland capable of serving large airliners, Narsorak Airport is located in Telluride Fjord on the country's southern tip. The airport was built in 1941 by the U.S. Ministry of Defense. Pilots must deal with strong winds, severe turbulence, and wind shear in a mountainous landscape even on the calmest days of the year before they get the sight of the relatively short 6,000-foot runway. While the high wind in the fjords is a major challenge for pilots, a nearby volcano can even be more of a headache. When it erupts, its volcanic ash cloud contains very small particles of glass, silica from melting ice, that can damage aircraft engines. Number 1. Peril International Airport. Peril is Bhutan's sole international airport. The tiny airport is nestled in a deep valley and surrounded by sharp peaks of up to 18,000 feet tall. Strong winds whip through the valley, often resulting in severe turbulence. Considered the most dangerous airport in the world, flights are only allowed during daytime and under visual meteorological conditions in which pilots make their judgments by eye rather than relying on aircraft instruments. The dramatic approach to the runway is completely out of sight for the pilots until the last minute, as they maneuver between mountains at a 45-degree angle before dropping quickly onto the runway. Only a limited number of pilots are authorized to land at Peril. So, yeah, not a place you want to land at, ever. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the various airports of the world that you should honestly try to avoid if you have the chance? Can you see why these airports are so dangerous and can be harmful to those who try to go there? Are you going to keep these in mind in case you get close to the areas that these places are in? Do you know another airport that maybe belongs on this list? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.